Hey, Vibor has joined. Thanks, Vibor, for joining.
Hey, I just thought to join and say hello to all of you.
Welcome, Vibor.
Hi, Alvin.
Hello,
Hi,
Vibor.
Hi. So, guys, how it's going? I think it's been 2-3 weeks now.
Yeah, the third week, just today, like our count has significantly dropped. Just 4 of them joined today. So many asked apologies because of their team meetings or something else. Yeah. So, but anyway, we are going to record this so that it will be useful for them.
Yeah. So, Alvin, Narvati, how it's going?
Yeah, it's very useful. It's a clear path changer, this UI path. So I'm very much interested in doing the certification. A nice effort and fantastic effort by Rajneesh.
Great. How about you, Arvati? You see value in this session?
Yeah, it's good to start my career with UI path. I'm learning a lot of things from experienced candidates, MVPs.
Good. And maybe once this is over, you may want to share your experience on maybe the LinkedIn or something, because these small appreciation or if it really adds value into your profile or into your learning, I think this really motivates all the MVPs, everyone who puts any effort. So, right? Probably these are the things these people are always hungry for, and probably everyone, not MVP, everyone, right? That if their work gets appreciated. But yeah, good to know that it's going great. And this number is also increasing.
So it's yeah, they are doing really great. So many people are watching the recording or in the YouTube channel as well, and I am receiving almost 10 assignments per week. So which is really great effort they are doing, and someone connecting for asking some clarification as well. So it's really great, a good engagement from the participants. Yeah.
Thank you once again, everyone. So I'm just dropping. I just wanted to say hello to all of you.
Good to have you.
Talk to you again.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. So others also, please feel to switch on your camera if you like to, because only we few are here, so we can make it more interactive. Siddha and Shohan. Welcome all. So just today I want to talk about few important topic. So this week is like the most important one, week 3. So which is UiPath Studio selectors, Excel and data tables. So in selectors are really very important topic, because that is used for any kind of automation. We need selectors. So I just want to take you through the chapter selector. Let me open the UiPath, then I show you something. Okay. So before going into selectors, so we need to see something called recordings, right? So in the recording, like we have around 6 different types of recording, but we are not going to use all of them. But the main 3 things that we'll be using is, one is the basic recording, and you can see that it generates a full selector for each activity and no container activity. So you will understand more about that when I am recording something. And desktop, it's suitable for all type of desktop applications, right? It generates a container activities and partial selector. So you already saw full selector, and one is the partial selector, and now another one is the web. So web is mainly used for like recording the web application. So from the activity name itself, you can understand it's a web. So we are only using web applications. So for desktop, we have a special recorder, and for basic recorder for almost everything, and we have one web. So if you are given an application just to see if you can automate something and you're not sure where to begin, and this is one good start or good step in the initial stage, you can record something. For example, if I I have a website. So let me open a web page. So let me open a web page, and I have a page like this in a to automate anything website. So I just want to automate this page and or get the details of this page, right? So we are running the training programs. Other than this, we run some advanced program and internship placement program as well. So if you want to capture these kind of details from this web page, so I can essentially do recording in this page. So first of all, I do a basic recording, and it gives me an option just to record, or you can start another app and start recording. You can do some other range of activities like click, type, copy. So a lot of other operations as well. But mainly we'll click on this record button and just click somewhere, because I'm interested in this data and this data, just two data, and I click escape button from the keyboard, which gives me this option. And I just click on save and exit. This gives me this the recorded steps, right? So it gives TD and TD. Just click on some TD, which doesn't mean anything, but it has created this recording. So when you click on the edit selector, so which is our main topic today, and you can see this some code, which is the XML code generated, right? So it has all the details. The title of the page, the application is chrome.exe, and the title is professional transformation program. And you have some web control, which is table, and the tag. So with this, you understand that it is like the XML code. So it's a selector in the background. It has some XML code, and it consists of several nodes, right? These nodes are it's a combination of tags and attributes. So this is called as a tag. So XML code has different tags and attributes, right? It has nodes, tags, and attributes. So this is the tag name, and this is the tag value, which is the table and TD. So basically it generates XML in the background, right? So with this, we can do a lot of manipulations just to play around with the table and get the data. So this is one type of recording, and this selector, we call it as a full selector, because we can change this value like star. So I put an asterisk here. So which means instead of the professional, there can be any other data as well. So the entire the title can be anything. So here, instead of professional, it can be any other as well. And it expects this kind of format. So now if you can see, since I have changed something, the selector status changed to something else as validate. So I click on the validate. Now it's again green, which means it's still able to identify. Now I click on the highlight. I'm able to highlight this value. So this is so one type of wildcard. So we call this as a wildcard. There are two types of wildcard. One is this asterisk, and another one is the question mark. So question mark essentially change this. Instead of to automate anything, it can be a question mark. 1, 2, 3, any 4 automate anything, whatever the number. So it's just calculate that. Now I click on validate. Again, it highlight that. Let me put another question mark and see. It cannot validate because the number is between 0 and 9. It's not 10. So that's why it cannot validate. Now if I click validate, it accept that. So this is one kind of, and we call this as a full selector, right? So this can be one question, how to generate a full selector. So full selector can be essentially created by clicking on the basic recording. It generates a full selector. Now we analyze something on the desktop selector, desktop recording, right? So in the desktop recording, again, it gives us option to record. And this option says it record multiple activities at once. Yeah, but I'm sure it creates a partial selector. Let's see how it works. I click on the same value here. Again, I click on the value here and click on the escape button. The same steps I have performed just to see the difference. And first thing it does is like it created the attached browser activity. So which understand we are going to work with a browser, and it generates one selector on top of that. So this has all the title values, right? So this is one selector, and within that on each steps. So this is called a partial selector because I cannot edit anything on the first line because it's bringing from the parent activity, which is the attached browser activity. And from that, we can only play around with the table. So this selector is called partial selector. So if you come across a topic selector, there are only two types. One is the full selector and other is the partial selector. So now I hope you understand this difference between this, and you saw how in the background XML is generated. So more option is provided. Like if you are quite advanced in XML, handling the XML, you can play around in the edit selector. But if not, if you want to explore more values or more options within with the available selector, because there will be some challenges while using the selector, because sometimes the object cannot be identified, which means the element, the target element cannot be identified. So in those kind of cases, what you can do is you can open UI Explorer and find more options there. So yeah, so this opens a separate window. It gives a separate application, which is UI Explorer, and there are many other the attributes and values. You can make use of this to, so I can click the column name or some other properties, table column, table row, to the XML row name, inner text. So there are many other options as well. You can make use of that. So when you select all those things, you get even more options. So this is used mainly in cases when you are facing some challenges using selectors, right? That time you can use all these options. So UiPath has given this feature, which is UI Explorer, mainly to play around with the selectors. And there are many other options as well, which we can explore. So it's already open. And close this. There is one more. Yeah. So if you see, there is again validate. So at this moment, you want to select some other element. So I just click on book appointment. So which just refreshes the editor. Now some other element is selected. And in some cases, like you only aware of the anchor. So which is like this book and appointment always comes next to this value. So you can make use of an anchor there. So I can indicate an anchor. So like that. And then we can make use of that anchor to identify this value. It's still working. Yeah. So that is the use of anchor, right? And highlight is, again, it highlights the value. When I highlight, like since I have mentioned the anchor, it also highlights the anchor as well. And then we have more options like default UI framework, default active accessibility, UI automation. So you can try all these options when you are facing some challenges, when you are not able to identify the values properly. So I give UI automation. This is kind of a framework for this UI Explorer. And now you try to highlight the value. It's still highlighted. So in some cases, it will not be highlighted, and you change this option to some other framework, then it may be highlighted. So in that way, you can make use of this selector. Yeah, so I hope you understand this UI Explorer. And just to highlight, you need to aware of all the options that are available here. It has the indicator anchor, indicate element, and it has a visual tree. Yeah, so if you see this element, that this booking appointment, so it's a child of some other nodes. So you can see all the node of this page, and you can see this element highlighted in the visual tree. Also, it has the property explorer, which has different variable, different names and values, different property names and property values. And this is the selected item. This is for all the properties, but this is only for the selected property, right? So that's it about this UI Explorer. I don't want to save any change. I just want to show you this difference between three. We use this three, not much. If you are given the Citrix application, then you make Citrix or the computer vision and image. But yeah, this is in SAP. It's used in Citrix or SAP image is used, but most predominantly, like, we used the first three activities, right? So now you are aware of the full selector and the partial selector. So now what we will do, we will just do some kind of recording, not a recording, like we will see how we play around with the selector, right? So here we'll make use of the same example. So now I want to introduce you to some two other concepts, which is called static selector and dynamic selector. The first one I showed you is a static selector because I'm not making any changes within the XML, but you will be coming across a lot of dynamic selector. So what is a dynamic selector? So in real time, the value keeps on changing. So even then the values keep on changing, then still you will need to able to identify those values. For example, in this table, so you can expect similar table, but every time you cannot expect the same value, right? So I want to grab the values from this table. For example, this program ID is here. I just only want this program ID. We want to capture this. So we need to write a small program, but we no need to write for each and every value. For example, this now the table has 3 rows, but later if it has my program got increased and there are 10 or 20 rows, how do you capture these values using a single selector? So for that, we need to write a program. So what we can do is like just do some desktop recording. Yeah, just to make it faster. I'm just capturing only this value and just clicking on ESC. So now what happened is it given us that value. So this is fine. Now we are going to do some analysis on this selector, right? And I'm going to open in UI Explorer. Yeah. So here, if you see, the row I selected is 2, right? So the table column is 1 and the table row is 2. In the 2, the table name is this one. So now I am going to, for testing purpose, I'm going to choose the next one or the last one, right? So now I clicked on the last one. I'm going to check this value. So if I'm going in a right way, so the table row is 4 and the inner text is something else. So this is the value exactly I wanted, but I'm having in a table row 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to consider this table row, and EastLeaf is by default it is selected. So I'm not going to make any change. Yeah, so I'm just only going to use these values. And instead of this table row, I will be creating some other variables just to capture this value. Right, so I'm going to save this. What are the tags? Sorry. So I did not choose this properly. Like there were two UI Explorer opened. I was choosing in the other one. So I'm just choosing all these values correctly. Yeah. Now instead of this table row, I'll be creating something else. So when I deleted, like it is giving me error because I did not mention anything. So that is the reason it is throwing the error. So now I need to create from here. I will be creating Control K and giving a value called, sorry, Control K. There is some problem. So instead of this 2, I'm going to parameterize this. I'm going to give Control K. So it gives me option to type. So I'm giving a index. See, now this changed to index and it accepts because I'm going to pass the index value. Right. So now I have changed this index. So what I'm going to do is like, we need to know the count. So to get the count, we can get when you come across the data table and the Excel concept, you know how to get the count of the table. But now we know the, let us assume the count, right? So for example, this variable we have created, so that by default it is 2, that is fine. And we can go up to 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 we can have it. So I'm going to put this under a loop, that is while. So you come across the control flow concept, right? You know how to use all this statement. So I put index less than 5, right? So by default it is 2. So here I change this to index value and just put it as 2, right? Because I'm going to indexing it. And when it is less than or equal to 7, so I'm not going to click this. Instead, I'm going to type get text because we need the value, right? So we are going to grab the value. So just I will click on here. And instead of, I'll just copy and paste this selector, just Control C and paste the value here. Right, so I'm just copying and pasting it. Now I can write line. So when I get the text, so I need to assign it to a value, right? So I put Control K and I put output. So here I put output dot toString. So this is how I create, like get the value, but while condition is this one, so I need to increase the counter, right? Okay, so now I run this program. I hope you understand this. So let me I know this is not visible to someone. Right, so initially I touched the browser and I'm just getting the value. So here I have done only one thing, which is just I have changed the index value. Instead of the static value, I have made it as a dynamic selector. So now this is a dynamic selector. So this is the one thing you need to understand. So we can parameterize and make the value dynamic. So if the runtime if the element is getting changed, you need to see the pattern where the value is changed. By using the UI Explorer, you need to click and analyze how the pattern is changing. So depends on that, you can increase or decrease the value accordingly and then get the value. So that is how you change your selector dynamically in the runtime and to make it even more dynamic. So that is called a dynamic selector. If you ask the difference between the static selector and dynamic selector, static selector, that will be the default value, but dynamic selector, the value will be changed in the runtime. Okay, so now I hope this worked, and let me run this. So here, since I put it in the while condition, you are aware of the loop, control loop, and index less than 5. So up to it starts with 2, up to 3 values it can display, right? So I'm just running the program and see how it works. So the program come to an end. So I can show the output. So you can see here, I'm not sure if you're able to see this. And I also opened the same screen and compare that. So first value is PTP IND, second is PTP 001, and next is PTP 002, right? Since I was given 5, so it stopped the program there. But if it is more value, I need to increase the value. But yeah, there is something called table count. If it is increasing, so initially you get this table and do a count. So which I tell you in a data table concept. So you can get the count of the data rows. So you can use that. So index less than 5, here I give a static value. So you can parameterize this to the table data table dot count. Then it goes up to that value and gives you all the value perfectly. Right. So at this point, do anybody have any questions? Let us make it more interactive. So if you did not understand or something, you can ask now.
Hi Rajnish, can you help me in explaining this get text? Like while reading this get text TD,
Okay.
like how exactly we went to this index column of program ID something.
Okay.
So
So
we try to read that column, right? That particular column
yeah.
only.
So you want to know how it read that specific column, right? So you want to know
Right.
how it is extracting this value instead of this value, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you want to know how it.
I just want to know how that loop went, like, you know, in the that particular program column,
yeah.
It went from one column to the next, and how that iteration happened.
Okay. So that is
Exactly.
the power
Maybe
of.
I didn't understand this get text thing body.
No problem. So that is what the power of dynamic selector, right? So, and that is why we used this Open UI Explorer just to analyze where we can parameterize. So we made it like a dynamic selector here in the edit selector. So initially it was static. So you can see the table, the XML tags, attributes, and the attribute value. Here mainly it depends on 2 attributes, which is the table column and the table row. So in the table column, it is 1, and column, you know the difference between the column and the rows, right?
Got
So
that.
the
Okay.
column. So this column.
So in the situation, if the column condition is met, then we are trying to read that.
Yeah. So in the while loop, the first time it comes inside the loop, the row will be 1. So for table column 1 and the table row 1, the value will be this value. And the row is 2, the value will be this value. So row 3, this value, and keeps on going. So just to identify that, we go to the UI Explorer and select the appropriate row. And here I selected the column and row. So here I parameterize to index. So in case, so to identify, I need to indicate the element and find it. So that will give you the difference. So that is what I told. So I indicate the element and click on a row here. So here it refreshes and gives the table row as 3. And yeah, that is how I identified this one specific attribute is getting changed dynamically. So this kind of thing we can handle using dynamic selector. And that is the reason I parameterized. Do you want to save? I don't want to save. Yeah. So that is why I parameterized this table row. I did not parameterize anything else.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay.
does that answer your question?
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Okay. Cool. Anyone else have anything else? Okay. All right. I take it as a no. I think you understand this concept clearly. So all we have is, so first of all, when it comes to selectors, there are 2 types of selectors. One is partial selector and 2 is full selector. Right. And there are also different type of selectors in each of this, like static selector and B is dynamic selector. So selector, it is XML fragment. It consists of nodes, attributes, attribute values. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. And also I told something about the recordings. So the different types of recordings, and we have basic recording and desktop recording. So difference is like the selector is different. For basic, it will be full selector. And desktop, it is partial selector. I may be wrong, but either of that, it works on either of one. So which is, let us work on a window application as well. Let me bring that Windows application. Have you seen this application before? Any one of you has seen this application in the past?
No, Rajneesh.
No.
Okay, so this is the default, the sample application given by UiPath just to do all our testing purposes. So we use this for Windows application automation. Right. So what we going to do is like here we can perform different operations like deposit, withdrawal, split deposit, something like this. We give values and click on accept, and then it gives a transaction number, account ID or something, so we can capture this value. So just to play around with the data, so they have given this application. I can give this for you in the email, so you can make use of the same thing. So what I'm going to do is like I have a Excel. Let me bring that Excel as well. need to find that somewhere else. CTP. Okay, maybe we not use the Excel, so we can use it as a hard-coded value. So using a selector, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sequence desktop automation. And type into it, type into. So we can open that WI and click on the cache in. Right, in cache in we can select some value as 100. Enter cache in. Enter. The next value is the honest check. The next one is not honest check. The value differs. Let me put it as 200. This is some 300. Now I get text. So I want to get the transaction ID, right? So when I'm giving some value, I put type into, and to grab the value, it is get text. So the get text is, I want to get the transaction ID, right? So this is all selectors, right? So these are all static selector. I'm not going to make any changes here. Yeah. So let me run. So also let us see the message box, this output. So this get transaction ID, I save it into an output. The message box, I write the output. Output dot to string, right? So and other than that, I need one more thing is like click. So I need to accept the transaction, then only it will generate that. So this is as part of the business. So we click on the accept. So now I run this. It will not run, right? Or it will run. Yeah, it is running. So here I got the transaction ID. So I'm able to get that value, right? So this is one way of creating selectors. So I'm directly using the selector. So this is like full selector, right? So it's not a partial selector, it's a full selector, because I know the which application in each of the activity the app name is there. So it is a full selector. But if we are able to keep all these things together, so which is like attach window activity, and I just create WI. So now I'm going to attach the window and drag all this here and see how it changes. Still there is no change because I have created it separately, but let me try to create it once again and see if it is changing. Even I'm experimenting that. See, this is called partial selector. So since I have initially created the full selector, so I'm not able to create the full partial selector when I drag and drop in, right? So, but initially, like you will be attaching the window first and then add this, all these things, then it becomes a partial selector, because it's not really good practice that we are calling this application name again and again. It's not good because it's all happening within the same window. So this kind of scenario, you need to go through the partial selector, right? So this is one way, but yeah. So what else do I have? Okay, so we have saw one desktop recording, and we have saw one basic recording and desktop recording as well. And also I need to show you something else, which is called data scraping and screen scraping. So it's both are almost the same. So it just any web application, you can scrap the data. And also using the web recording, also you can communicate with the elements there. So let us take any example you tell in any website. So we can just go through that and do some recording. So in this, I take this page, the professional transformation page, and then try to screen scrape. All right, in the screen scraping. So I'm just page down. So let me create a sequence, name it as data scraping, web scraping. Just screen scrape this. Okay, it just scrapped only that value. So this is one way of screen scraping the elements. So here also there is native full text and OCR. So initially it is full text. So I don't want this thing. So this is one way to scrape data, right? So I have given data screen scraping. So now I am going to do a data scraping and see how it works. I'm going to select this value. See, when I click, so it gives the name and description. So it basically gives all the, because it identified this as a table. So this is, if this is the table that you're expecting to scrap, then just click on the finish. Is the data spanning multiple pages? No, because it's a small table, but in some cases there will be hundreds of pages or 200s of pages there. You can click yes and just point to the next button, but here I click on no. And it just scraped me everything. And one beauty of this data scraping is it generates as a table, which gives you option to select like save it into a data table. So which is our next topic. But yeah, it's a very good pathway to go there, because you have the data table and we can see what's inside the data table, right? So we can convert this data table now into, so type data table here in the activities, and Yeah, this is the output data table, but don't worry if you are not sure why I'm not choosing this. So this is something like we convert the data table into a text output. So I just create a variable here and choose output. Right, I want to write it. So I'm giving the input as this data table as our, sorry, the data table does not have the scope outside of the touch browser, I think. Exactly. So I'm just giving the web scraping here. Right, in the data table, I give the extract data table as the input. I'm giving this output, and in the right line, I again write it as X output dot to string, because I want to convert into a string, because data table is not in a string format. And to convert the data table into a string format, I need to use the output data table activity, and then I can write like this. Right now I debug and show you the table here. So I hardly did 2 or 3 steps here. Yeah, so, and you can see the output here, right? So it's a 2AA and induction program, induction by industry experts. So it is all the entire table, it is giving us an output. But I just want to show it is working, like I'm able to extract the data as the data table in the web scraping in a browser. So you can use any browser and any web application. And we still got some more time, so I'll go through one more example. For example, eBay, right? So eBay is one other thing where there are a lot of products are there, right? So let's go for TVs, television or laptops, right? So let's go for laptops here. And I want all the laptops names and the price in Excel, right? So since we are going to work with the data tables and Excel, so we need a lot of data. So I may use this as an input data for our next session. So what I'm going to do is do one more programming or one more workflow just to grab all those values. So I'll call eBay data scraping. Created. And I'm straight away going to.
Just a quick question on the data scraping.
Oh, sorry.
So, in the previous one, when you showed in the to automate anything thing, you clicked on one cell in the table, right?
Yeah.
Will
Yeah,
it work on any other cells? Because I'm doing right now parallelly, and somehow mine is not working.
Oh, really? You're working parallelly? Okay. Maybe it is due to some other settings. So I just clicked on only one row. The first
No, I mean,
row.
like I clicked on one column in the description. I mean, like one under the description. I did not click on the start. Does it matter?
Yes, it does.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why?
So where you are clicking also matters. So I click on the first value, you may get that. But if you
okay.
do not get, then yeah, let me know
Okay.
separately. We'll take it
Okay.
off. All right. So now we'll go to eBay.
Yeah, I mean, like now it's okay.
Oh, that's great. Fantastic. Okay, so what we'll do is like we just try to scrap this value. So click on the data scrapping and it gives you extract wizard. Click on next. The thing I'm interested is in the name of the laptop, right? So first it's the name. Next it's the value. So what's the car? Oh, okay. Cannot see, it's complaining. So maybe that is not a correct product that I'm looking for. So I click the next value. No, it has some issue. Again, no man, it's not working. Okay, no problem. Let's begin again. Okay, so we'll go for the Okay, second element, right? Second element in the same thing. Oh, I don't know why it is not working. It's just a trial. Okay, let me click this and see. Okay, not a great example, I think. Okay. What I do is like search for laptop stenciling or laptop cases and bags. Okay, let me try this option. Because for laptops, there is no consistency in the data. So that is why it is failing. So here I look for the name and the second element is the price. Now, I think they have prevented this to capture the values in the website. So eBay is no good way to automate. Okay, let us take
Shall we
Amazon.
try with the other side then? Amazon something.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks for that. So can you suggest any other site?
Amazon?
Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Amazon. So first name is name and column name 2 is price. It's bringing all the data, but this is not I expected. Okay, so this website we saw first is quite easy, but this is quite complex. And this data is not, it's not structured enough because each of them have different patterns. Because if you see here, it arrives before Christmas and it got some other data like they have crossed this 449. So the data is something not consistent. That is why it is not working. But you can take all this data, but it will not be in a correct table format. It's not there. So we may need to go for some other website as well. But if you generally want the data, we can scrap, but it's not, it will be not in a usable format for our purpose. So we'll find some other better examples. And then, yeah, I leave it to your analysis, and for your assignment you just choose any one website and take just extract the value from that website and then create a table out of it and make use of the next assignment. So take this as an input for the next assignment. So I'll give you 5 minutes break and then we meet for the data table and the Excel concept.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Rajneesh.
I hope you had a good break.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you all switch on your camera?
Yes, yes.
All right. Any questions do you have before you jump on to the next topic?
No, actually, I took a break, so I did not explore it.
Okay. So
When we start doing, actually, we face more issues.
yeah. So you need to practice on every day, each week, like all the concept you need to practice once with your own examples, then only you learn. So this is very important class because the selectors and this Excel, so this will be the most used concept in any automation. So you need the UI, right? So you need to interact with the UI. It can be any kind of UI, any kind of application. So this is very essential, and data, and you'll be dealing with the data mostly in Excel or CSV, and or data table. So these concepts are very important. That is why and in the exam perspective as well, the selectors will be given more value. So there will be more questions you can find in the selectors, as well as handling the data. So data table and Excel. So you can find most question coming from these sections. So give more importance to this both of this section, and try out your own examples before you take the exam. Okay, so let me show an example. So it's example based. So I have an Excel here. So we try to read this Excel into UI path. There is cash in, honest check, not honest check, use cash count. So first we will try to read this data, and then make use of this data. And we have this application, maybe we can give in to this input, but yeah, we'll try accessing this first. So I'm going to read Excel just to create a sequence. Type Excel here, and you can see different range of activities, and but most of them you will not be using. I'll be telling you which you will be mostly using it. So the first one is the Excel application scope. This is the one you will be using most frequently. And read cell. So this is one activity that you'll be using. Read range, read row. So this is like entire row you'll be reading. And select range. Write cell and write range. So yeah, in my view, so these are the activities that you will be most frequently using in Excel automation. So you need to read one single cell, and you will be reading a range of values. You will be reading one single row, and you will be selecting a particular range. So there is not much difference between this read range and select range. Yeah, and write cell, you need to write to a single cell and write range. So first of all, the Excel application scope, I need to select the particular Excel. select this Excel. Right. So when you see as Excel, you need to think of something which is a workbook and worksheet. So the workbook is entire Excel itself, and the worksheet is within the Excel. There will be different sheets so available. So those are the worksheets. So usually it will be in the sheet 1. Let me open the Excel. So if I want to read this value, they use both, or maybe this 72, which is unique. So if I want to choose this value 72, so I need to write something. So here I need to write the it's called C2, right? Here it's the second row and it's the C column. So I need to choose C2. C2. Right. So I need to see what is the output cell. So I have created as an output cell. It is a string. So when you read a cell, so it reads as a string value. So I can give the output cell now. So I no need to convert because it's already a string. So I just debug it and see if it works. Okay, there are a lot of validation error. I know why it is coming like that. So for time being, I delete all these. So this will read that particular cell I expected, but there is some issue. String converter cannot convert from system.double. Okay. This is sheet 1 and C2. So what was the error? It was read cell string converter cannot convert from system.double. Okay. Since it's the value, maybe I think it's expecting if I put the double. Just a try and see how it works. Yeah, since that is a numeric value, so it's expecting the data variable into something else. By default, it is string, but the value is not string, right? So it threw an error. So I convert into the double value and then it started working fine. Now I run this. By default, the read range is sheet 1. but yeah, I did not save it into any data table, so it is of no use. So I need to give it properly.
If there are multiple sheets to read from, then we need to loop through all the sheets, or I mean, like this can read only one sheet, right?
You can manipulate it accordingly while you are reading the Excel value, right? Like you can give the sheet name here. So this one can be changed to 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah, but
So,
similarly, we
similarly,
do not know how many sheets are there, but we need to go through all the sheets.
yeah, so in that way, what you need to choose is like get workbook sheets. So if you give this workbook sheets, then this will be stored in
the sheets.
in these sheets. I hope this is a list of string, so it's a list of values.
Okay.
Then you need to you know, the control loops, so you can put into a while loop or for loop, anything, and you need to go through the read cell or read range. Instead of the sheet name, you put something like sheet the sheet names or something like that. You can play around that.
Is associated with it. So
Yeah, but there are options available, the solution available to handle all those things. So first we are seeing how to read a cell value first. So when we are happy with the cell value, I'm just deleting this. Now we are seeing how to read a range. So in some cases we need to read only this, no need to read everything. So, but in some cases we need to read only this much. So, but we don't want other values. So this is a simple example, but you can see how complex the Excel is. We need to choose only certain values. So from A to B, and for me, it's enough. So I put here like A2, sorry, A1, sorry, or A1, yeah, A1 to B3, right? So I want only this, and I created a selected output. I'm choosing only a selected range of values. Now I write selected. So since this is a data table, right? Selected output is a data table. I need to convert into a text value. So which is output data table. So output data table expects an input data table, which is the selected output, and a text value, which can be, I need to create that as text output. So this is the text output of that selected value. So now we can see how it works. Delete this. Just a debug. So the Excel application scope will read the Excel value first. First it reads the Excel. Now it read only the sheet, which is in the sheet 1, A1 to B3. Yeah, it works. So in the data table, you know, the selected output, you can see here also in the locals. So you will be seeing more of this in the debugging session. What are the things to look into that for the values. So here it exactly selected A1 to B3, A1 to 3. So it's just 3 rows, including the header. So that is another concept, including the header or not including the header. Sometimes we may not require the header. So in that case, we will ignore the header, and it's output the data table and text output. So it's only output these values, right? Now you know how to read a cell value. Now you know to read a range of values. Now you know to read the entire sheet. So entire sheet is like, don't give any values here, just leave it blank, or just put 2 quotes and don't mention any values. It reads the entire sheet. So that is how, what is the different. And now I need to read only a data row, right? So instead of the read range, I put read row. I don't know why it's coming like that. Read row. Yeah, this is the one. So in the read row, it reads the entire row. We need to give the starting position of the row. So here I give it A2 because A1 is the header, and I need to check what is the output. Selected row, I give it a selected row. So here it creates a object, right? It's not a data table, but it's create a enumerable object. So there is some difference between a data table and an object. So let me see the output, what it is. See, it is the result. It's created 4 object. So which is in the row, it has all these values 100, 28, 72, and use both. So every time it creates a data row object, and you can play around with that. So I will take a separate session on this one, on how you can handle object in another session. So here, but you understand there is one data row as well. If you want to read one row, still we have options. You can read one cell, one row, or entire and write a cell. So now I'm going to write into a cell. So which is, I want to write into E. So here I put it as output. So I want to add all these things and write it here. Just imagine if it's the output of this input, then I'm going to write it here, which is E2. So I just put it as test. All right. So now I step into now you can see the test is here. So if you are able to write one value in a cell, definitely you can write a range of values, right, or a range of data tables itself. I have given as an input. So instead of this, you can give as a data table or a data row or a data, whatever it is. So if you give that, so you can write, you need to identify where you want to write and what you want to write. So if you know those answer, you can easily create this workflow to create your output. So now I have written in a cell, but I can also write using some other option as well, which is write range. So you can choose the range of cells what you want to write. So this gives you the option to write the entire data table. So I create a selected output. I'm not sure if it is there. Yeah, but in case if you have a data table, you can give the sheet name and the starting cell range. Then it will write the entire data table there. So this is how we automate Excel. And there are also, you can explore the other options as well, like the save workbook or copy sheet, delete range, get workbook sheets, or get selected range, whatever it is. You can close workbook. Just to try all these options at least once and take that as your one assignment, how all this work. And yeah, just do one exercise, that would be fine. Understand each of these activity, what is it, why it is used. So if you get questions in this activity, you will be able to answer. And when you scroll over any specific activity, it just gives you a high level information of what that activity is all about. So that way you can learn about that activity, right? So you saw about the Excel. So the next topic is data. Yeah.
When we do our assignments, do we need to incorporate all this into one workflow, or can we do it as in different workflow?
Yeah, it's actually up to your imagination. So
Okay.
first you can read cell, so you can create all the create activity first, and finally you can delete the Excel. So when somebody runs your program, so it will create step by step. So it will read a cell and write steps, and slowly you increase the data and do all the deletion and this thing at the end of the program. So it's easy to understand. Yeah, but it's up to your imagination how you want to do that. In some cases you can do the deletion up front and show the output final. So yeah, so you have your own imagination, and you try to create a business
yeah, right.
statement.
But I was more wondering on, I mean, like say there is read cell, read column, read range, read row, and all those methods, right? So
Yeah, so
do we have to use each and every method, or just one or two methods is fine?
okay. Sorry, can you please repeat that last part?
Do we need to do examples for all the methods, or just one or two methods is fine?
Just a few of the important, whatever you think is important, mainly whatever I covered here. So you can send that as assignment, but rest of the things you can still try at home if it works or not.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah, but when I debug your program, so I need to understand, like, okay, so if I did the right thing. So I'm not going to run the program. I'll be debugging it step by step, so I can see each of your step is working.
Okay.
Yeah, all good. So anybody else have any other question in the Excel concept? Okay, I think I take it as, I think everybody understood thoroughly. So see, this is very important concept. So it's not just for Word, but trust me, 80% of your work is going to be on Excel, mainly in this space, RPA space. So there are a lot of manual work in Excel. So everybody want to automate this. So there will be more work you can expect in the Excel and the data table side. Okay, so now we are done with the Excel. So let us take our input from the read range, right? So I give the read range, and in the sheet 1, so it is like I change it to a data table. So you understand this, right? The selected output. So this is a data table. So a data table is another representation of the Excel in a data format. So it also has the same Excel structure. It has a column, it has a row, it has headers as well. So if you choose the add headers, so it will add the header. If you do not choose, the header will not be added. So let me see this Excel. So only the output column is blank, so others got value, right? So okay, I don't know what. Okay, so let me debug up to that and see how the selected output looks like. Okay. You saw something happen, right? During that execution, it just opened the Excel, and there is one reason for that. So if you see the data table here, so this is how the structure looks like. The cash in, honest check, and you can see only the output is blank, but it has all the other data. So this data table we can make use of as an input just to perform more operations on that. If so the one more thing is like you can create data table. So if you don't want Excel and you want to create a data table directly, because in some business you may need to create a data table for having some reference values. So the option to create a data table is like you can go through here, type data table. So you have these many operations in the data table, and you can see the generate data table, right? So this is like creating a data table. So mostly we use it up front, just even before the Excel, we create a data table. Oh, sorry, it's not generate data table. Create data table. Is there, can you see the create data table? Oh, sorry, build a data table. Something is not working for me. So this data table, build a data table. It's not generate, but generate also you can create data table. But build a data table is more appropriate because we can create the column name. So take this as a this number or int. So here, this is the integer value, and put some name. This is a string. Right, so you can build this data table and give this as a name. So call it as a reference. Okay. Right. So and also you can add values like put 1 and Alvin. Yes, so this is how you build the data table. So you can give a reference name as well. See, the data table is created, so I gave some reference value. So similarly, you can create multiple data tables. So now I got 2 data table. And you can do more operations on the data table. So as we saw there in the activities. Just one moment. So you type data table and you can see a lot of operations here, right? You can add a data row, add a data column, clear data table, filter data table. So all those options you can use. And also you can look up data table. So most of the database operations you can able to do it in the data table. So you can do joins as well, left join, right join, inner join. So you can do all those kind of joins as well. You can merge two data tables. And output data table you already saw. You can remove a data table, remove a data column, or remove a data row, and sort a data table. So all these sort of operations you can perform. So let me perform some more thing. So we are going to add a data row or sort data table. Merge data table as well. Not sure how this works. So in the input, it asks for a input, and it asks for a output as well. So destination. So we need to create some destination. Output DT, and the source is reference selected output. Sort selected output. Output data table is also selected output. So it is asking for the sorting column, what you want. So either you give the name of the column or you give the index of the column. So I give the index as 1. Right, so it worked. This one is quite complex. We need to know the data, the name of the column, then only we can add this. So it says the array of objects you need to give in an object definition way, or you can select the data row, or you can give a data table as well. So here, since I know some data table, I give this, but it may not work. Okay, so this I will come with another example, but this example is not a good one. So let me see how this works. The merge and sort. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So this is like I have given something incorrect. So this kind of exception comes when the robot is trying to access a value from a cell and there is no value there. I have given something which even doesn't exist there. That is why it is giving this value, because output DT is not a correct thing, because I have just created that destination, but there is no value in the output. So maybe that is the reason it is not working. Here I need to change the destination to something else, maybe a reference DT, and see, I keep a breakpoint here and then debug. Okay, now I click step into. See, now it worked because both had data, but we need to see actually the out destination is reference DT. Now I need to see the reference DT here, and you know what the reference DT initially had, right? So it had only the first 3 values. Now since I have given the merge, it has merged the other values also. So now the column number of columns has increased, the number of rows has increased, which means the merge is working fine. Right now, sort data table. So I have given the selected output as the input, input, and the selected output as the output itself. So before executing this value, I'll show you the selected output. So I'm going to sort based on the row 1, which is cache in. So you can see, yeah, you know the number, so no problem. So now after sorting, we are going to check the data table. I don't know how it works. Sorry, it's the, which one? Selected output. Where is the selected output? Yeah, so here it is. It's 100, 142, 273, and 324. So this is how it's sorted. So the sort also worked fine. Yeah, so that's it I can think of in the data table. So anybody have any questions so far?
No, it's all good.
Rajni?
Yeah, somebody is asking some question. No.
Regarding the read range and all, do we have a specific range like these many records only range, or we can give any number of ranges in that?
Sorry, can you please be a bit louder? I cannot hear you properly. Some problem.
Read range in the Excel we have worked previously. Read range concept, read range.
Read range, yeah, read range.
In that, I mean, like how is there any number of ranges we have, or these many number 500 range or 200 range, or we have n number of ranges? Like, is there any limit for that?
Okay, so it all depends on your requirement. So if you want to read only 100 rows of data, so you can specify 100, or if you don't have any range, so for example, if you want to read the entire Excel, so don't give anything in that range. So it read the only the read, like only the used range column it will read. So whatever data is there, it will read only those data. It's not the blank entire Excel, all the blank values, but it reads only the value that are available there.
Okay.
Okay. So, so any other questions anybody have on Excel and data table?
So Rajnish, in the next session also, like, we'll be continuing with the data table concepts, right?
Next, so data table and Excel will be like repeating. Yeah, so whatever
Okay.
topic we take, so definitely you can see some examples coming. It will be coming again. But next upcoming topics, like we will be covering the syllabus. So which is like email automation. So next week is full of email automation, and we have PDF automation and debugging and orchestrator overview. So
Got that.
yeah, so we will be following as per the syllabus. So today we saw like Excel application scope, and most common methods, workbook methods are data table and Excel, both most common methods. And we saw data table, different variables and methods. So like how you can expect the question is that like they will ask, like they will give an activity and ask you what is the use of that activity. For example, add data column or add data row. So they will ask what is the output, right? So for example, in the merge or sort, so there is no output there. So here, if you see, the output is the data table. So it will ask whether the output is the data row or a data table. So you need to aware of how to use these kind of activities. Yeah, then you will be easily able to answer those questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought of giving more example, but I cannot think of anything else at this
Yeah,
point.
about this add data row, I think it will be a bit different, it seems like, because it will be having different kind of columns. So reading different kind of columns, entering, it's like
Yeah.
entering different kind of columns will be maybe a challenge. How to read that?
Okay. So yeah, I can show you one add data row in the next class. So how you add a data row and read a data row in some with an example. So then
Okay.
I make a note of that, and that will be useful for you, I think.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so how I plan is like we'll have one session the next week. So next week is exactly like you cover more than 50% of the RPA associate training. So we can have a checkpoint of how your knowledge is so far. And we conduct one class in the weekend, some Saturday or Sunday, and we can have one some kind of question and answer session. So it will be like we can simulate that same exam pattern, and you can take the exam for only for these topics. So you have all the questions given to me. So I'll just go through and take only those important questions, and you can take a simulation exam on one of the Saturdays. Or yeah, I'll let you know the timing. So we have one more class, and yeah, then we will do that. Then that will be useful, so that we get an idea how you are confident and how it is useful so far to you. All right. So yeah. So if you have don't have anything else, then yeah, thank you very much. Today we finished a bit early.
Hello? Yeah. Hi, I'm TC.
Hi.
I'm having a one doubt. While I'm doing a one workflow, I need to enter in 10 pages, but it suddenly go to the next page. It won't enter in particular page. I need to change any in Selector.
Okay, so is this a Excel or some web application?
In Windows. In Windows.
Okay, so you have a Windows application where you want to go to one of the page, right? On 10th page.
Yeah, it will go to that page, but it won't enter the data. It will move to next page. The everything in that particular page, it won't enter the data, but in all the pages, the data will be entered.
Oh, okay, so only on particular page there is some problem with the selector, right?
Yeah,
so
I checked the selector and attributes also, but I didn't get.
Yeah, you need to, what you need to do is like you need to recreate the scenario. So go to the same, like try to create the same scenario, and then check the property of the element, and try to identify what is changing. So you need to check any numeric values there, or if it is like dynamic, why it is. You need to select the previous entered value and the next entered value also. So take all these patterns and see how it is changing, the properties is changing. And if you are able to identify that pattern, then you can handle it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody? Great, thank you everyone. So we'll meet in next week with another some interesting topic, which is email automation.
Thank you so much, Rajneesh.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, Ajita.
Is there any possibility that we get today's video by today or tomorrow? I'm sorry, because last 2 weeks it's okay, but today is an important concept. Sort of doing starting the work today.
Sure, I'll try to get as soon as possible, because the timing is a bit different. Like we are now, it's night 8 p.m. So yeah, so most probably I'll try to give it by tonight or tomorrow.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
One more question. Sorry, if this is a silly question, I don't know. Just now, you just showed us the data table concept, the Excel scope, right? So, after opening UI path, directly we should take that Excel application scope, or can we do this in sequence or workflow by taking sequence and keeping these activities in there also? We can do like that also.
So your question is like, can we use it within a sequence or a workflow, right? So flow chart.
Yes.
Anywhere you can use it, as long as the workflow accept that activity, so you can use that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it all depends on the business scenario that you are working on. So yeah, but the recommended is like these are all like we get this value upfront as the first activity in a workflow. We just use the Excel application scope and read the Excel and then do all the activities within that. So see, if you're doing multiple activities within one Excel, so it is recommended you keep all these activities within that Excel application scope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks all.